share with people.
You are live. Hello, 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 hello. We are
Hi.
very happy and excited to come your way once again. This is Baby Child and Co, where we do child health education. And today we are talking about how to feed your children to help them to succeed in school. So I'm just waiting for a few people to join. I don't see anyone on yet. And then when they join, then we will start. Meanwhile, I want to say a very big thank you to Zinkovit. Zinkovit continues to support us um, with what we are doing. They believe that when we educate parents and the children are better, then we get a stronger nation, and we are so grateful for them for their help. Zinkovit is in capsules, it's in syrups, it's even in drops for the preterm babies upon a doctor's prescription for the preterm babies. We've talked about how important zinc is already. So we know that zinc is one of the super nutrients that we have. I'm still just waiting for a few people to join. I don't see anyone on yet. So I will take the opportunity to share. If you are watching on replay, thank you for joining. Your support means a lot to us. So you can share to your wall, your pages right now, while we are waiting for some of our audience to join us. So I am just sharing to my wall, and then we will kick off. Okay, I've seen a few people now. You are very welcome. Thank you for joining us. You can also take the opportunity to just share so that people can view, because when we do this and nobody views, then we don't make an impact. So thank you so much for joining us. We are very happy about that. So let me just see which of my friends are on so that I can say hello to them. Okay. For some reason I'm not finding them. Okay. All right. Um so my guest today is you have probably met her. Um she's one nutritionist who is so interested in educating, and she does it with so much passion. She speaks with so much passion. You can see that she really loves her job. Mrs. Pearl Selome is a registered dietitian nutritionist for several years with wide experience in helping people, not only children, to manage their nutrition, to help them with lifestyle diseases or diseases that are related to lifestyle. So she's been a guest on Baby Child and Co for several times. This is not her first time. Yes, you may have also seen her on TV. She's quite a popular dietitian nutritionist. So we are very happy to have her here this afternoon. I believe she's the best person to talk about nutrition for children. We want them to succeed in school. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Pearl,
Hello.
what are your first words? What are your initial words? We want to talk about how to feed our children so that they succeed in school. So can you share your initial thoughts on the topic with us?
Thank you very much, Dr. Seriam, for having me, and good afternoon to our listeners from all over the world. It's an honor to be here this afternoon, and this is a topic that I think is very important because children are our future leaders. Like I always say, in the next 20, 30 years, they'll be the ones making the decisions for us when we are older. So we have to make sure that they are getting the right stats. And childhood, especially before age 5, is a window of opportunity to make sure we are able to put them on the right start. So I believe it's in order that we discuss this all important topic. Even though we know that it is not just nutrition that can help children succeed, there are several other things that we need to do to help them succeed. We believe that nutrition also plays a key role to make this happen. So good to be here. I hope we have a very fruitful discussion this afternoon.
Thank you so much. So you have mentioned that right up to the child is 5 years, there is so much that we can do to put them on the path for success. But when do we begin to make sure that we get the nutrition right? Because we are talking about success in school. We are talking about things that can make your child learn, absorb, understand, and all these have got to do with the brain development of the child. When should we start making efforts to get this right?
Okay, so when we talk about development, it actually starts from conception. So when a mother becomes pregnant, the kind of food she starts eating, the nutrients she gets during the pregnancy has so much impact on her birth outcome. So the way a mother eats during pregnancy would affect how the brain is even formed before the baby comes out. So I think it starts right from when you, the mother, decides to become pregnant. Sometimes we don't have the opportunity to plan the pregnancies before you know, yeah, it's already there. But ideally, women should prepare their bodies. So we have the prenatal nutrition where you are supposed to be getting certain particular nutrients in your food so that by the time you are pregnant, the body is fully ready for the fetus. And then when the baby is in there too, like I said, the brain development, every other thing is developing in vitro. And so you, the pregnant woman, should be getting certain very vital nutrients in your diet. One of them is which I'll talk about probably later. It's omega-3 fatty acids. You should be getting some of that in your diet as well as iron. These are very vital micronutrients. They may seem they are needed in minute quantities, but they also play very key role in how the brain even develops for the child before they come out. And once they are out, the way you feed them, there are certain foods that we have realized from research that it actually diminishes the ability of the part of the brain that helps us to remember things, the hippocampus. So, going forward in the discussion, we'll talk about some of those things so that we can know how to plan the meals for our children, some of the things that we can avoid giving them, some of the things that we can continue including in their meals to help them in their learning abilities.
Excellent. So we need to start even before the babies are born. We need to start thinking about their future even before the babies are born. Let me just say good afternoon to Kwejo Fojo, who has joined us and is saying good afternoon to us, and to Ellie, who has also joined. Thank you so much. And we've got a heart from Ellie. Thank you so much. Can you share on your pages, please, so that others will also get this as well? So now the baby is born. We are concerned about brain development, because most of the things that a baby is going to do in school, when the baby is no more a baby, older, is going to do in school, have got to do with the brain. Now the baby is born. What can we do to get the nutrition right?
Well, so when the baby is out, we have a whole lot of responsibility to make sure that we are setting them on the right foundation. So it's like building a house. Once the foundation doesn't go so well, it carries through to life, uh, throughout the life cycle. And for children, between from birth to age 5, most of the development starts happening. And that is why most of the programs that are targeted towards improving children, we target that age range because you still have some opportunity to correct certain things. So once the baby is out, I would say um, the first thing you should introduce the baby to is breast milk because we know that so far there hasn't been any other food that can be compared with the sort of nutrients that the baby needs from that age. It is only breast milk that we think is ideal. Well, we know that also in some instances where breast milk is not available, there are other alternatives that can be helpful. But that should be done in consultation with a professional to make sure that the child is getting it right for the infancy period. Now, when the child starts eating, that is from age 6 months, when you start introducing the complementary foods, there are certain nutrients that have to be part of whatever meal you are giving the child. So, for example, it is important for the child to have the B vitamins, something like calcium, the omega 3 fatty acids, vitamin C, and the antioxidant vitamins in the child's food, so that you are also trying to make sure that the brain structure keeps developing the right way that it should. The brain is made up, it communicates with the other parts of the body, and it sends signals to the other parts of the body. And before all these signals can work as they should, there are certain vital nutrients that are needed to make this happen the way it should. So, from the complementary feeding stage, it shouldn't be a lot of junk foods. It should be well structured such that every single day the child is getting very important
Child is
nutrients, like
getting
I've
very
mentioned.
important nutrients. Yes. So we know that when a child is born, brain development has not yet finished. Because when you think about it, this child who is born is not yet walking, is not yet talking. All these things come with brain development. Brain development has not finished. That is why when children get severe infections before they are 2 years, it can affect the brain. You can still get cerebral palsy even if your birth and everything was fine. If you get a severe infection or you get bad malnutrition, you can still get effects on the brain development until the brain is well developed around age 2. Even then, we say that the brain is still very plastic because something can happen to the brain, but other parts of the brain will grow up and take over the function of the one that is lost. So the brain is still developing. Now, let's think about these foods that we should feed our children for them to do well. Let's think about them in two groups. Let's talk about the good foods and the bad foods. And let's talk about not just the nutrients, but what exact foods should we put into the meal to make sure that we are feeding our children these good foods or these nutrients that is going to help them, their brain to develop and for them to do well in school.
Okay, thank you very much. So I wouldn't take our listeners too far away. Um, for nutrition to be sustainable, for you to follow through with some selection of foods that you want the family to be eating, we sometimes consider sustainability. So whatever you decide to choose should be things that you can easily find around you, should be things that you can easily afford, so that it's not like you've started something, you are giving the child, and then the next few months you can't afford it again. It should be something that you can always find. So availability, sustainability, and then also affordability, those are some of the things you have to consider. Keeping that in mind, we are looking at things like egg. I mentioned egg because egg is like a complete protein, because it has some of the very important nutrients that I
I love
mentioned
egg.
earlier.
I love egg. Egg is nice.
Yeah. So for children who have started eating, you can include an egg every day in their meal, and that's okay. So you have choline there, you have iron there, you have vitamin A there, and some other very important nutrients in there. So egg, I would say it's a very cheap source of protein, and it's easily digested, unlike maybe other things that the baby would find it a bit difficult to digest. Their system may find it very difficult to digest. Eggs are something that you can easily inculcate in their meals. So something also like Keta school boys, or what we call anchovies.
Yeah, and I love
So,
Kita's voice.
so Keta school boys can be in a blended form. You can make it into powder.
Or
And
a pounded form, pounded. You pound it. And then, oh, I think my internet is giving me problems. I just hope it doesn't last long. Okay, so she talked about egg, and while we are waiting for her to come back on, there's some small internet problem. So you should incorporate eggs into your child's diet. Let me take the opportunity to say that if you have any questions at all or comments, put them in the comment section. I will not only project them on the screen, we are going to answer them for you. And even if you are watching on replay, and you have a comment or question, just put it there and we'll come back and answer it for you. So we are talking about the foods that you can feed your children for them to do well in school, because to do well in school you need the brain to develop well. And she mentioned egg. Egg is very cheap. Is everywhere. In the villages we have eggs, in the cities we have egg is everywhere. And then we talked about kita school boys that you can put in a blended form or a pounded form. This kita school boys is very cheap, it's not expensive, but it has a lot of nutrients. She was about mentioning them. It has so many nutrients, especially, you sort of eat it with the bones. So you get the calcium, you get the protein, you get the vitamins that it contains. All right, Phil, we're waiting for you to come back. So, yeah, you were
Sorry,
telling us about
going
kita
off a
school
little.
boys.
Yes, so Ketasku boys can also be added to their meals. So, like I said earlier on, if it is a child who yet doesn't have a lot of tooth, you can make it into a powdered form, or you also blend it into a paste and add it to the child's meal. You can also add green leafy vegetables, because that is where we get a lot of vitamin A and then some iron from. So our indigenous vegetables, so ayeyo, alefu, boko boko, spinach, kontomire, can be used in preparing meals for them. But the portion is that it should be well washed, and then also it shouldn't be overcooked, so that you don't lose the nutrients in there. And so a bit of the green leafy vegetables almost every day at least, and then also your bright colored vegetables and fruits, because that is where we get most of the antioxidants from. So antioxidants like vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin C, which help with reducing inflammation, can be added
So
also to
basically,
their.
anything that is brightly colored is likely to have a lot of antioxidants for you, right? Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Basically, so all the foods and things that are deeply or the brightly colored, they are
yeah,
very packed with antioxidants. All right,
yeah.
our questions have started coming in, and don't we love questions? Margaret is asking, is it advisable to add the anchovies to a baby's porridge?
Yes, you can add it to a baby's porridge, but from experience, what I've seen mothers do is that sometimes the combination becomes too much. So in the same porridge, we have milk in there, we have the fish in there, we have granite paste in there, and then sometimes they even add eggs. So it becomes too much proteins at the same time for the baby's kidneys. So if you want to add milk to the baby's porridge, then the fish shouldn't also be in there. It should
Okay,
be done alternatively. But
okay.
preferably, I think it's better in soups than in
Tastes better.
porridges,
It
because
tastes
yeah,
better in soup.
because of the taste, and then also sometimes the foul smell that some of the fishes could come with. So I would say that because of taste, and also um, you looking at whether the baby would be able to tolerate it very well or not, it's better you use it in the soups and stews. But then it can be used in a porridge for a baby. Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about green leafy vegetables, and you gave the caution not to overcook it. But I know that indigenously we also have this practice of steaming the vegetable and straining and pouring away the stock. And what do you
Yeah.
have to say about that?
Well, my take is that you shouldn't even steam it first. Once you are preparing the soup with the vegetables, once it is chopped, you should just go in there straight away. You shouldn't steam it, throw away the stock before you send it. When it happens that way, you will just be eating without getting the full benefit of whatever you are eating. So I would advise that caregivers should rather wash the vegetable very well. It can be done with salty water, and then you don't need to cook it first before you pour it back into the soup or the stew you are preparing. Because typically our stews will last 30 minutes or more on fire. And if we have already cooked it, it means that the nutrients are going to be destroyed, especially those that are a bit volatile. The heat will just destroy them. So it's better you just wash the vegetables very well and then just place it in the stew. And it shouldn't stay long on fire.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent, excellent response. Okay, so you've talked about proteins, you've talked about um, antioxidants, basically vitamins, minerals, and then some that are particularly antioxidants. Of course, we are not letting forgetting our carbohydrates, because that also gives the energy for the child to grow. But we are paying special attention to what we call, mind boosting foods. But I'm quite sure Pearl is not happy. She wants a healthy plate, balance it. Yes, so your child should eat a balanced diet. But are there particular foods? You mentioned proteins, you mentioned antioxidants, because after all, you need to be healthy. But are there particular foods that can boost the brain power of your child?
So I'll talk about nutrients, then we
Okay,
come to the foods.
okay.
So, like I mentioned earlier on, there are certain essential nutrients that are needed for good memory development, and then also improving, um, helping with memory not declining so fast. So, for example, the omega 3, omega 6 fatty acids, what we call the DHAs, are very important to be
Which
had
are in
for,
fish? Which are in oily fish?
which are in oily fishes,
Yes.
and even the seeds and the nuts. So
Okay, so let's
something
talk
like
about seeds and
almonds
nuts.
and
Okay.
walnuts. So you see the shape of a walnut. The shape of a walnut is like the brain. Let me see if I can find one here.
I never
The,
thought about it like that.
the brain, the shape is exactly like a brain. This is walnuts. I don't know if you can see
I can
clearly.
see very well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it means that it's very helpful for the brain, right? So it has a lot of the DHAs, as I mentioned earlier on. So if you are putting together some of these nuts in the child's food, it is helpful. And then also your antioxidants, so vitamin E,
But
vitamin
what
A,
about
vitamin
our
C.
own indigenous nuts, the peanuts, and that's
Yes,
groundnuts.
the
And what
groundnuts,
other indigenous nut do we have? We have cashew
almonds,
nuts,
and
and
cashews.
well, is almond indigenous to us? I always buy it in the
Yes,
fancy shop, so I thought
yes.
it is. Oh, okay.
Almonds, almonds, it's one of the indigenous nuts that we
Wow.
totally forgot about. Growing up, we used to call it abrofunkatie.
Oh,
And
really?
I remember you plug it, they are in different colors. When you crack it, that is where you find the nuts. I don't know if
Really?
you ever took some, but they've been around for a very long time. It's just
Oh,
that we were not
so
paying
if somebody
attention.
knows how almonds are called in the different languages, perhaps you can put it in the comment section for us. Because
Yeah.
frankly, I always thought it was imported, because I buy it in the shops, like
Yeah,
the fancy shops. So I
most
thought it
of it
was.
now are imported, but they were
Okay.
around us in big, big trees with their
Oh,
fruits.
okay.
So you see the fruits after eating. I remember growing up, you eat the fruits, the outer part, and then you crack it, and there is the nut. So in Chi, I think it's called abrofonkatie. That's almonds, and
Okay.
it's been
Okay.
around us for a long
Okay,
time now.
okay. So if you know how to say it in a northern language, one of the many northern languages, or da, or ever, please let us know. Okay, so that, I mean, this is more relatable. We know what it is we are talking about. Thank you.
Yeah. And also, it's important for parents to add fruits to children's food. Like I said, the body also goes through inflammation, and we know that the brain is a part of the body. And once the whole body is going through the inflammation process, it affects the brain as well. So, foods that can help bring down inflammation is important to be added. And the fruits do a very good job for us, especially the vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C rich fruits. So oranges, pawpaw, carrots. I don't want to take us too far away. I mean, the ones that are very common around us,
Mangoes are my favorites.
mangoes, yes,
Lots
guava,
of vitamin
and
A, you know. Yeah.
yeah, and even one of my favorite fruits, avocado. Yes, avocado is something that also has some iron in there. So all those things can be added to a baby's food, or those that can eat on their own with the finger foods. Those things can be added to their meals as well.
Okay.
Because typically now, when you look at we do go to schools, we do school health programs, and typically when you look at the kind of snacks children carry to school most of the time, it's mostly the sugary drinks. We don't offer them fresh fruits or vegetables as snacks. So I think it's high time we took a good look at what kind of snacks we give children to go to school. Yes, they need all the energy, but also they need the right energy because they are learning, and it will help improve their learning abilities as well.
So when we talked about seeds, I don't think you mentioned egusi.
Yeah, agushi. Yeah, agushi is one of our indigenous seeds. So agushi, sesame seeds, chia seed, flax seeds, those are a bit of the foreign ones. But agushi is one good seed or nut that can be also added to either soup or stews. So in preparing your palava sauce, you can easily mill or blend your egusi and then use it as part of the stew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
nuts.
then the oily fishes, so salmon, mackerel, those are very good sources of the DHAs. So they can easily also be added to their diets. In fact, within a week, we have 7 days in a week. So you can probably do like 3 or 4 times a week of seafood, which could be the oily fishes. And then on the other days, you can have your red meat or eggs or whatever it is. So there should be variation. It shouldn't be all one way, because sometimes you are tempted to do one way of cooking because you feel like my baby is more comfortable with this food. So it's always the same thing you are serving. But it is important to make it a bit diverse so that they are getting a full benefit or complement of each of the food groups.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned babies severally in your talk right now, but I think the same foods you mentioned we can give our toddlers and kindergarten children to the
Yeah.
lower primary children as well, because at that time they are still developing. But most important, like you said, is the children who are under 5 years. Most important because you are still building the foundation. So you mentioned some of the good foods. I know we haven't exhausted them, but what are some
Yeah.
of the bad foods that you can give your child? In other words, those foods won't help your child. They may actually derail their success in school. What are some of those bad foods?
Well, the bad foods, I would say, well, there's no bad food. It is the quantities that we give the
So
children
I
that
think
make it
I think
bad.
sorry, let me interrupt you because we are moving on. So
Yeah.
Abna is asking, please, at what age should a parent add the seeds and nuts in a child's food, especially the almonds and the wild nuts?
Okay. So because children that are under age 1, you are not so sure whether the child has allergies or not yet. And then also to avoid choking, etc. If you are going to give it to them to chew by themselves, then they should be above 1, because
So
then they
actually,
can,
the seeds and nuts shouldn't be given to children that are too small to as we are growing, we are still coordinating our eating and swallowing and talking and breathing.
yeah,
And children who are less than 3 are not very good at doing that.
yeah,
So I think you are saying that for giving it to them, in a
by
seed-like
themselves.
form by themselves, then they
Yeah,
should be a bit older, preferably
yeah,
above 3 years, because
yeah,
again, foreign body going the wrong way, like those nuts and seeds going the wrong way, is one of the things that can be one of the devastating consequences of trying to feed your child a healthy meal. But you can offer them in acceptable or more acceptable forms, right? So
yeah.
you can tell us
Yes.
more about that.
Yes, so these are how the nuts look like. So imagine giving this to maybe a 6 month, 7 month old. Choking can easily happen. So if you are going to give it to them, it has to be in a form that they can accommodate. That means that you are either blending it or you are probably mailing it into powder. And I would suggest that it should be one seed at a time, so that if the child has any allergies to any of them, you can easily identify it. You can't sum it all at once. into a paste or powder and be adding it bit by bit. If it happens that way and then the child is allergic to any of them, it will be very difficult to trace which one it is. So for age 6 months going, if you want to add the nuts or the seed to their meal, it should be one at a time so that you can easily trace um, any allergies. Aside that, it is better, like doctor said, if you are offering them in these whole forms at age 2 or 3 when they can thoroughly chew them by themselves. We are saying this because we want to avoid them choking on the nuts. That is why we are saying that. But aside that, if you want to give it earlier than that age, then it should be in a form that they can easily accommodate. And like I said, one nut at a time.
Excellent. So from 6 months onwards, you can give these nuts and seeds to your children. Just it should be in a form that they can accept or that is good for them. You know, it's not a choking hazard for them. And then one at a time, so that if there's a problem, you can know exactly which food is causing that
Wasn't it?
problem. Yes.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about the bad foods, and you started off by saying that there is no food that is intrinsically bad in itself, but it has to do with the quantities that you are offering. Okay, tell us
Yeah.
about some of these foods.
So the part of the brain, the hippocampus, that helps us to remember things, that helps us to even deal with the stresses that life brings us. It's the way it functions is hampered by the junk foods that we take in, or foods that I would say cause a lot of inflammation. So the highly processed foods, so the sugary beverages
So, what
that
are
we
some
take,
of the highly processed foods?
the highly processed foods. For example, I would say something like pizza. If you are taking too much pizza, you are giving the child too much of it. We are not saying that the child cannot eat pizza. No, that's not what we are saying. But if you are giving it very too much often, then it can be a bit not so good for the child. And then also the highly processed drinks, highly processed sugary
What do you
drinks.
say about sausage? You mentioned pizza, so sausage, shawarma, you know, I hope nobody comes to meet us. But sausage especially, because I mean, my experience has been that a lot of children like um, pasta, you know, the ones that they've added a lot of condiments to it, so it tastes very nice. And then the parents mix them with sausage. So you find children eating pasta and sausage almost every day. And sometimes, even when you go to the creches and see their menu, there is pasta and sausage on the menu for a creche. What do you see?
Doug, like I said earlier on, there should be variation. I mean, there should be diversity. So if once a week you are giving sausage to the child, I think it's not so bad. The only thing about sausage is that it has a lot of trans and saturated fat. And so if we are trying to avoid inflammation, then it shouldn't be something that is fed the child too often. So if on the menu you have sausage as part of the menu 4 times a week, and then I think it's a bit too
That's a
much.
problem.
It should come down to maybe once or twice in a week and then replace with either egg or the seafood, so salmon or any of the other oily fishes. Because bottom line is that we want foods that would improve the brain health and would not foods that would rather make a decline so fast. So as much as possible, we should avoid giving too much of the foods that will cause a lot of inflammation. Yeah, because like I said, there is not necessarily a bad food. It is the amount, the timing, the frequency of what you are taking that makes it bad.
Okay. So you were talking about sugary drinks before I paused you to take a question. What is your comment on that?
So the sugary drinks, sugar is one thing that if we can, we should try as much as possible to cut down on. Even with the porridges we give them, if it is possible, you can replace the sugars with honey or even fruits, because the fruits would offer natural sugars, fructose, which would even give the child extra nutrients aside the glucose they will be getting from it. So with the highly processed sugary drinks. I don't want to mention brands, but the fizzy drinks that we know on the market. Some are also highly caffeinated. Some have a lot of sodium in there. So if you are fond of giving this as snack to your child every day, then it should be something that you may want to watch. You can replace these things with natural fruit juices that you have made yourself, or natural that haven't been sweetened. Yeah, because once the thing is highly concentrated with a lot of sugar, then it doesn't help the brain. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Joyce Auku has just joined us. She says, "Good afternoon." Hi, Joyce. We are so excited to have you. And if you have just joined us, if you have a question or comment, please leave it for us and we will project it and we will answer it. And if you are even watching on replay, you can do the same thing. Kindly share to your pages, tag your friends and your relations, especially those of them that have small children. So, you keep saying throughout your talk, you keep mentioning inflammation, and I just want to try and explain inflammation in a language that um, we all will understand. So when we talk about inflammation, it means that you can think of it as an injury that is happening to the body, but it is not always visible. So this is injury that is happening on sort of a low scale in the body. Sometimes it can cause symptoms like the child is always tired, or the child is, I mean, experiencing some joint aches, nothing specific, like, okay, is it malaria? Is it tiredness? That sort of thing. So something is just not right, but it is not like the child is outright sick or vomiting or has a fever or has a headache for you to see. And these processes happen very slowly. They don't cause they don't cause problems at a fast pace. They don't do it with speed, but over years, it's slowly but surely over years, then it begins to cause problems for the child. And one of the foods that is very good at causing inflammation is sugar, as we are saying, added sugar. I remember in one of our previous talks, somebody was saying that what is the difference between the sugar that we are talking about? That's the white sugar, and then the sugar that is in fruits. But there is a huge difference between them. So you can use fruits, to add flavor and taste to the child's food. Dried fruits, mashed fruits, blended fruits, whatever. Yes, but we are saying that if the child is eating a lot of sugar, that is a problem because it causes inflammation. Apart from the inflammation, there are other problems sugar causes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Apart from inflammation, taking in a lot of the refined sugars could expose your child to type 2 diabetes later in life, and even some
And
of
then
the
parents
conditions.
say, do children get diabetes too?
Oh, yes. Type 1, it's more genetic. We know that. But type 2 is more related to lifestyle. So you can have a child who gets to the teenage age and then now gets diabetes because probably they are probably obese, or yeah, they've been taking a lot of these things that have exposed the body to a lot of inflammation. And mind you, once your body is going through a lot of inflammatory processes, it affects the way the hormones are also balancing. So yeah, it can expose a child to a number of not just the mental health issues, but also other heart related conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned obesity, so I wanted us to just make a comment on it. Obesity actually is a disease, but even a lot of people don't recognize that it's a disease. So when your child is too small, it is a problem. When your child is too big, it is a problem. I mean, I have mothers who are exclusively breastfeeding, and then they have the perception that there's a problem, and then they add on formula and the baby becomes so big, and then they are so happy. But always you need to know what the standards are. You see, so the baby should not be too big and then should not be too small. There's a way that you can easily follow this that I think we will dedicate a few minutes at the end of the show to talk about. So, obesity is a disease. It's a disease because it affects the child's health, and then it affects their self esteem. Children can be mean without meaning to be mean or without intending to be mean. When your child is obese, your child is going to be teased in school. That will really affect how well they can perform in school. So it is not necessarily a good thing that your child is too big. The question should be, how big is the child? Because the child should not be too small and your child should not be too big. And then the obesity leads them to have other diseases. They have breathing problems. They have reflux. They eat and the food keeps coming up because they are just too big. Their joints begin to pain them because the children are too heavy for their joints. And so many other things. She mentioned type 2 diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, all these things children can have. But always when we are talking about them, it's like they are adult things. And so, okay, it's just sugar. Let her eat it now. Maybe when she grows up, she's going to cut it down. But the thing is that these things are acquired taste. Once you love sugar, you even love it more. As the years go by, you just love it so much more. And then it becomes so very difficult to stop. Now, there's
Yeah.
a trick question for you. And I'm so happy this question has come because me, I was going to ask you myself.
Okay.
So, this question says that at what age can a baby take honey, please? If
Okay.
nobody had asked, I would have asked you.
Okay. That's an interesting question, and I'm happy it came up because I mentioned honey earlier on. Unfortunately, even at birth, some mothers start giving honey, which is very wrong. I always say that we sometimes assume that babies are miniature adults. And so things that are meant for an older child or an older person's system, we give to the babies. Ideally, they should start taking honey by age 2, simply because there are some bacteria also in the honey that the digestive system of a baby cannot fully digest or deal with. So if you are giving the honey too early, then you are exposing them to some conditions that they may not be able to handle very well. So it's better you start giving the honey to them from age 2. Ideally, by age 2, you can start. I personally experienced it with one of my boys. I gave honey before he turned 2, and I realized he started having diarrhea, so I stopped. So that was what convinced me even more that yes, the digestive system is not ready for honey, so you shouldn't stress it. And we know that the brain needs sugar, it needs glucose. Actually, the brain thrives best on glucose, but it has to be the right one. It shouldn't just be any glucose at all.
So, Margaret, thank you so much for your question. I haven't seen any of my pastor friends on, but I ever went to a child's naming ceremony, and then the child was given honey. So, if it tastes sweet, it is sweet. And afterwards, I did prompt the pastor. I said to him, "You should not give honey to children. It's just a drop." Yes, but you don't know what is in that drop. The child can take honey for 10 years, but the one drop,
Well,
well, I
and
mean, yes, because we are talking about
unfortunately,
babies, yes.
unfortunately
So,
now the honey that you find on the market, some of them have been mixed with all sorts of things. Unfortunately, even foam. Some people melt foam and other things and mix it with things and sell out as honey. And if unfortunately you buy one of those and give to your baby, you can imagine the extent of damage that could possibly happen to them. That is why we are saying that before age 2, you try and avoid it. If you want anything sugary in their food, you can blend some fruits and mix it with the porridge. And the good thing about babies is that they are now learning the different types of taste. I always say that it's an opportunity for you, the parents, because they are like, they don't know anything yet from the 6 months. So just expose them to the different types of taste, the sour, the sweet, the bitter taste, and then they'll get used to it rather than waiting and giving them a lot of sugar right from the start and they become used to only that. I've met children who don't even like taking the solid foods because they were only giving porridges. So the way parents start the complementary food, the complementary feeding also has a huge impact on the kind of foods the children like later in life. So
Yeah.
let's give them our indigenous foods from the 6 months. We say you should start on a lighter note. Once you are going forward, you can start giving teaser, you can start giving banku bit by bit, but in consultation with a professional, they will guide you with the quantities, because sometimes we realize we either overfeed the children, we are so over expectant of them. So at 6 months, you are giving a whole cup of porridge to the baby. It shouldn't be. From age 6 months, their stomach size is still very small. So at a feed, they should be taking about 2 or 3 tablespoons of porridge at a feed. So once the mother sees that, oh, my baby is not able to finish the 1 cup of porridge, she just concludes that my baby is not eating.
My baby doesn't
Meanwhile,
eat.
that quantity you are offering is too much for her age or his age.
Okay. So, because snacks that our children take to school are a very important source of either good foods or bad foods. You've said you don't like the term because there's no bad food, it's the quantities. But I mean, snacks can do a lot of good and they can do a lot of harm. You mentioned that we can freshly squeeze the juices ourselves and give to the children.
Yeah.
And what else can we give to them to take to school as snack that is healthful and that will help them to develop well and help their brains to be able to stay active, absorb what is happening, and so on.
So apart from the fruits, we can also look at certain vegetables. So for example, you can put carrots as a snack for your child. There's nothing wrong with it. So far as you are giving other things to meet the energy needs for the day for a child, it's nothing wrong with that. And also, there are certain biscuits that can be added. For example, the wholemeal biscuits, or even you can even make your own sandwiches. So you make sandwich with some vegetables or some the oily fish mixed with the vegetable, and you make your sandwich with it. And let's talk to the children about the food. One interesting thing about children is I have had the opportunity of meeting very tiny ones. And once you start telling them stories about the food, they get interested. And the good thing also is like they like colors. So once you're offering these bright colors to them in a very presentable way, gradually they would accept it. And I hope that one day we'll get to that point where our preschools have nutrition as part of the subjects they learn, so that right from the beginning, the children get the opportunity.
I think that some preschools do that. I think
Yeah,
so.
a
Yes. So
few
apart
of
from
them.
telling stories about the food, you can also involve them in the preparation, whether they are boys or girls. I mean, children love to be active. They love to,
Yeah.
they want to be
Have
like
fun.
adults. They want to
Yes.
help you. They want to be active. So if
Yes.
they help you with preparation of the food, then
Yes.
they are also excited to eat the food. Now,
Yeah.
you
I
have there's a
saw,
question on the
sorry, Doc,
screen.
before you
Yeah.
go on, I saw an interesting post, I think this week, and it was a preschool, and they were learning about food, how to prepare salads at home. And these were 2 year and 3 year olds. And I found that very interesting because it's good we start telling them very early the effect of what they are eating has on the extent of effect it has on their bodies. And once they hear these stories, they watch cartoons, they watch all sorts of things on TV, and they pick these things up. So once we start presenting food to them, telling them some of the things that these foods they are eating every day, the impact it has on them, I'm sure they will grow up also making the right choices for their health. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a very important question here, but just before you answer it, I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
um, you've talked a lot about omega-3 fatty acids. Okay. Okay, then let me interrupt myself and make a comment first. We know that omega-3 fatty acids help with brain development, one of the key nutrients to help with your child's brain development. But then there's another practice that is related to this that is not so good. A lot of mothers are giving their babies cod liver oil. It is not, of course, cod liver oil or fish oil is good. It's good for brain development. But it is not a good practice to go and buy cod liver oil and give to your child. The reason is this: cod liver oil has, as part of our childhood immunization and supplementation, we are giving them more vitamin A every 6 months.
Yeah.
And the cod liver oil that you buy has a lot of vitamin A. And too much vitamin A will affect your child's brain development negatively. Too much vitamin A can even make your child convulse, can give these chronic headaches to your child that, people will not be able to explain to you if they don't think about it. It's very bad. It has a lot of negative effects on the brain development. So, we are doing that. So if you add on cod liver oil to the child, sometimes the vitamin A is too much for the child. That child may be having behavioral problems,
Yeah.
but you won't be able to point what is happening.
Get that.
So it's always good that you give the thing in a natural form. Okay. So give your child the fish oils in the form of the fish, and then give the vitamins and so on in the fruits and so on. But in addition, because we found that vitamin A deficiency is very common, it affects health and everything, we are giving vitamin A once every 6 months. So it's not good to go and add yours. Mothers will swear by it that when they give it, that is what clears the child's chest. It is not a good practice. It's not a good practice. So I just interrupted myself to say that. And I also mentioned that, one of the things vitamin A can cause is behavioral problems, right?
Yeah.
There are some people who will swear that when they give their children sugar, especially too much sugar, their children are too active. They just can't sit. And that's a problem as
Okay.
well. So, these are some of the things that we should look at. The children
Yeah.
go to class, they can't sit down, they are interrupting all the time. It sometimes has to do with the foods that we are feeding them. The question I have before we take the one on the screen is this. We are talking about foods that can boost brain development, but so far I have not heard you mention meat. You've mentioned fish, which I love. It has a lot of. What about meat?
Yeah. Meat can also be added to their meals. In fact, um, when you look at the iron-rich foods that would say the iron in there is bioavailable to the body. Meat is one of them. So yes, we can't take out meat. Meat should also be part of their meals, whether red meat or the lean meat. For children, the good thing is that you still have a bit of control. Like I said, it's still a window of opportunity for you to present things to them and still make sure that the extent of damage you have control over. It is when we become adults that you can't do so much about it. So yes, meat and chicken, turkey, and all that can also be part of their diet. Like I said, it should be you should give them variety unless the child is a natural vegetarian. I've met children who are natural vegetarians. You give them meat and they are throwing up. They don't want anything meat. If you have such a child, then it means that we have to look for, we have to supplement their meals with B12 because B12 is also very important for the brain. Yeah, so meat definitely has to be on the menu. And
Okay.
for the less than age one people who cannot chew, the meat should be in a texture, maybe in a form of a paste that you can easily add to the soup you are preparing for the child. Yeah.
So this is the big question. Sana is asking, since obesity is one of the problems we have identified with feeding, at what age should one introduce the child to exercise? Children should begin to exercise right from the day they are born. But you see, you have to think about the exercise in relation to what the child can do. So,
Yeah.
right from the time they are born, children should begin to have an active lifestyle. A baby who is born, a newborn baby, should do what we call the tummy time. They should begin to lie on their belly not when they are sleeping, when they have eaten, they are fed, their nappy has been changed, they are happy, and an adult is watching them, not on their own. They should lie on their tummy. That is the exercise that will help to strengthen the muscles in their abdomen and prepare them for rolling over, sitting, and walking, and so on and so forth. This tummy time should be done until the child is able to sit up. Because when you put them down at that time, then they will just sit up on their own. And that one, it's to their pleasure whether they want to lie down on their tummy or not. Not when they are sleeping, like I said, because children shouldn't sleep on their tummy. So you should begin an active lifestyle right from when the child is born. And then as they begin to crawl, you should create a space for them to crawl, a safe space, not that they are going to step into fire or anything, a safe space filled with things that even before they crawl, keep them toys that they can reach out and take, because it helps them to develop their fine motor to take things and transfer. And then when they begin to crawl, give them space that they can be on and crawl and move about. And then when they begin to walk, and then you can introduce more games, like exercise games, to them as they grow. When we were growing, we did a lot of, free range. You were free to run around, and then we did
Camping,
amping, we skipping, and then we did all sorts of games. So
pillow
an
boat.
active lifestyle is
Yeah.
is very important. Right from the time the babies are born, the children are born, you should encourage them to have an active lifestyle. And of course, they will model your behavior. If you are a potato couch, eh, you are, or a couch potato rather, you are just sitting in your couch watching TV, the children do the same. But if they see that you are active, they model it. Anyway, now let's come back to food. Yes,
Yeah,
so a
so
lot of
Doc,
people agree with
I
us.
want to add a bit of the snacks that I think are not so healthy. Sometimes
Mm.
we give them a lot of popcorn, a lot of chips, a lot of these pastries. We are not saying you shouldn't give it to them at all, but if it is something that is always on the menu, when you step out to buy food, that's always what you are getting them, then you should start watching it. Because some of these highly processed foods are what accumulates the visceral fat, right? So you see the child with a lot of abdominal fat, and that is where most of the vital organs are. So you have issues, they will have issues later in life. So some of these snacks should be replaced. The
So you keep
children should
saying highly
consume that.
processed foods, and I wish you would explain to us what highly processed foods are. Most food is
So,
processed. Even in our homes, we process most of our food. But when you say highly processed foods, what do you mean?
so when you pick something like chips, something like popcorn, or something like some of the, like I mentioned earlier on, biscuits, some pizzas, these are factory made foods, if I may say. They are made in a factory, and
Factory made foods, yes, yes.
factory made foods, and for them to get it into the way that the consumer would like, there are certain things that are added, also even for preservation. So if a child keeps eating some of these things for a longer period, some of the ingredients in there can be damaging for
To
them.
your child. So I had a
Yes.
friend who used to say that when you take the packaging of the food and you either cannot read what it is, or you read but you don't understand what it is, that food is highly processed. Because like Pearl has just said, when they make the food, it needs to stay on the shelf for a long time without expiring. So a lot of things are added to it to make sure that it doesn't expire very quickly, otherwise then it's not good business. And a lot of these things, once a while as treats, they are fine. But if it happens every day, then it's a problem. So if your child is eating something that the ingredients you can't read or you don't understand, then that should be a treat. It should be a once in a while thing. It should not be an everyday thing. Okay. And Joyce is agreeing with us. Frederica is also agreeing with us. Now, there's a very important question. It says, can a child under 2 or under 3 be given an artificial drink, biscuits, and sweets for snacks every day to school? Is it good practice?
No, it is not. Like I said earlier on, these artificial drinks, a lot of them are what we call empty calories. They are just high in sugars. They don't have the necessary nutrients that we're looking forward to having the child get. So if it is a daily thing, it is something you are doing every day, then you may have to start watching it. It can be replaced with so many things. You can give
Yeah.
them natural yogurts. You can give them your freshly made juices. You can give them chopped fruits in different colors.
You have
Sometimes I think the
yogurt. Yeah,
problem
yogurt
is
yogurt's very good. Okay, but again, some yogurts have too much sugar. So I
yeah,
think if you tend to change them, like Pearl is saying, one day this, the next day that, then you get a good balance. But yogurt's very good because they have a lot of protein, a lot of calcium, a lot of
probiotics.
vitamins, yes, probiotics as well. We tend to forget about those ones that help the intestines, the
The
atmosphere in the
gut.
intestine to be correct. So those ones as well. Okay. And I think we haven't mentioned our favorite zinc that we need. Zinc, and Zinkovic won't be happy with us that we are talking about nutrition without talking about zinc. So zinc is also one of the nutrients that is very important for brain health. You know, brain
Yeah.
health, hair health, skin health. How do I say this in
Anything
a
that has cells needs
chest
zinc.
health? Yes, chest health. You know, these children are always getting cough and cold. So zinc
Yeah.
as well to help these children to develop well and stay healthy. Diarrhea, all these things, zinc can protect them against or help them to recover quickly from. So the topic of children under 2 or 3 being given artificial drinks, biscuits, and sweets. My personal take is that from a behavioral point of view is that our preschools are not helping us, because I know that if all preschools, if it becomes policy that no child should bring in a packaged drink unless maybe it's a birthday or something, even so, I mean, you can do it at home. So if it becomes a policy, because most of us are giving this to our children every single weekday, Monday to Friday, they are taking a drink and biscuits, which is too much. It should be once a while. Those things should be treated. So if the preschools come together and say that nobody is bringing packaged drinks and biscuits, or even nobody is bringing a snack time, everybody is getting, say, an orange or a mango or cut watermelon, depending on whatever is in season. This will go a long way to help us at home, because when you, a parent, decide to only give your child maybe watermelon or pineapple, whichever one is in season, to take to school, and then the friends or the mates have juice, then the next time when you give, they'll tell you, Mommy, I want juice,
Yes.
and it becomes a problem. So,
Yeah.
so this is a way, sometimes we think about, we don't think about it in the context of the whole nation, because 10 years from now or 20 years from now, these children that we say are eating too much sugar, are going to be the ones making the decisions for us. And then when they make decisions and we are not happy, then we say, oh, our leaders are this, our leaders are that. But the time that they should have had the good nutrition, they did not get so.
So, like I said, it's a window of opportunity for us. We should think about it holistically, and then in the long term, the decisions that we are making for them now has an impact on the decisions they will be making for us in the near
In the
future.
future.
So, whatever decisions we are making for them, we should also consider our future as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have a lot of people that are commending us. This is Nanas Bonte Enchiduel is saying that we are doing a great job, and lots of people have given us likes and hearts. So if you just joined us, thank you so much for joining us, and you can share this. You can even put a comment on, even if you are watching on replay. We are happy to come and respond to this. So we are very thankful to Zinkovic that has continued to partner with us to help us to bring this to you. And if you would like to help us, because I mean, none of these things come on a silver platter. So if you'd like to help us to keep educating parents, or you have a particular product or service for children that you want to take advantage of our online presence to expose to them, you are welcome to contact us on our page. There's a WhatsApp number. We also have a blog, babychild&co.com. You can also contact us through there, and we are very responsive. So we do child health education, and then we have a YouTube channel that we are trying to grow. We have a blog. We used to have a very active parenting club, which has gone into hibernation, but it is not because we have stopped. It's because we are trying to automate, and there are so many processes to go through with data protection and all those things. So I mean, you can still join, but it's not active yet. When it is, we will let you know very soon. Anyway, we will let you know. And what we do is that we offer you guidance every week. We talk to you about the growth and development of your child, the right things to do for your child, and so on and so forth. We'll do all this for you free, so you can take advantage of it and interact with us and get the benefits of the many things that we are doing. So all too soon, we've been on here talking for an hour, and when you are enjoying the show, 1 hour goes by very fast. Do you have
Yeah,
any closing comments or remarks, or anything that you haven't yet had the chance to share with us?
to share.
Um, yes, so that
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier on how important it is for parents to regularly also take their children for assessment, right? We A lot of people are impressed about seeing a big baby. It's like your baby, everybody is commenting, your baby is looking big, and then you are happy. But there are standards that they are supposed to be going with. So WHO has developed growth standards for children for every age. So it is important for you to
and Ghanaian
visit.
children were part. Ghanaian children were
Ghanaian
part
children
of
were part.
the children
Yeah,
that were
so
used to develop these standards. So it's very, very
yeah,
much applicable to us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like doctor said, it's a global document, it's a global standard that children all over the world are assessed with, including our children here in Ghana. So from time to time, even if your child is above 5 years, you should still take them once in a while for an assessment to be done. Their height will be measured, their weight will be measured, and then compared with these standards. Like you already see, they are in color coding. So once your child is in the red zone for both sides, then you realize there is an issue that needs to be attended to. There is also the MWAC tip for those less than 5, and then those between, actually for those between 6 months and 5 years. As you can see, it's been colored already. So once your child is in red, it's an indication that the need for immediate attention. I'm just trying to say that parents should also pay attention to taking their children for regular assessments. It's like growing a flower. From time to time, you take a look, you water it when there is the need. You sometimes even put fertilizer on whatever it is you are growing. So it's the same with the body. The body needs variety of nutrients for every part of the body to make sure it is growing well. So you should contact your healthcare provider from time to time to make sure that you are actually on track, so that if there is a need for any intervention, then it is done earlier for you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what has been it is just an observation. It may not be a good thing to generalize, but I find that a lot of parents are not so I wouldn't say they are not interested, but they don't ask. Anytime you encounter a healthcare professional, no matter how old your child is, you should ask, is my child's weight okay? Is my child's height okay? Is my child, especially the younger ones, how big their head is it okay? Because sometimes even if the health professional didn't think about it, when you ask, then they are forced to do it, and then they are forced to explain it to you, though they should be explaining anyway. But I mean, we all know that we are all human, and I mean, that kind of thing. So whenever you have an encounter with a healthcare professional, you should be interested in these things. You should ask, how is the head? Is it good enough? The weight, is it good enough? Too big? Is it too small, or it's okay? That's kind of thing. So we have a question that I like, because I like questions, because it's relevant. It says that,
Yeah.
can 1 year plus baby take egg every day, since they can't take artificial drink every day?
Oh yes. For the 1 year olds, they need about 14 grams of protein a day. And if you are giving an egg is giving like 7 grams. So it's like you are giving about 50% of the child's daily protein need. So yes, every day you can give them an egg. It's just that we are saying that because we want them to have variety, you should vary it a bit. You are giving eggs, you are giving fish, you are giving meat, you are giving beans, so that at least the child will get full benefits from all the other food groups as well.
I think there's a lot of confusion around eggs, because sometimes I mean, there are periods when they get a very bad reputation, and then there are
Yes,
periods when they get a very good reputation, but we should eat eggs. I mean, I
yes.
totally agree with Pearl. We should eat eggs, and our children should eat eggs. Yes, but what I would like to say is that it shouldn't always be fried. That is what I would like to see. It shouldn't always be fried. So
I
boil
was
it
going to actually talk about that
please do,
because
since that is your
because,
field and not
because we said they should eat eggs, right? Parents can also eat eggs, but sometimes the number that is put together and the amount of oil or even the type of oil that is used, that is what creates the problems. Sometimes even before the egg is put inside the oil, the oil is like at the smoking point, and that is when the trans and the saturated fats start forming. So even if you give the egg to the child, it's better off when it is boiled, or even if you are going to fry it, it should be with very little oil, or the oils with less trans fat. Now we sometimes when you go onto the shelves, we are lucky that when you check the nutrition information, you can actually see the percentage of trans fat or saturated fat in there. Then you go for the ones that are at least less than 10%. If it's less than 5%, it's also okay. So you should choose the oils that are from the plant based. So something like the soya bean oil or the sunflower oil is okay. But the quantity that you are going to use to fry your egg should be very minimal.
even if it's a healthy oil, even if it's the
Yes,
healthiest oil, if you
yes,
overcook that oil or you eat too much of it, at the end of the day, it's not helping you. And while we are on the subject of eggs, the fresher they are, the better, right?
yes, yes, because sometimes the eggs stay on the shelf more than 2 months, 1 month, and when you break it, the color looks different, the smell looks different. It should tell you that
And the
this is
nutrition
probably
is also different at that time.
yes.
Once
So
those
you,
things have happened, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you shouldn't base on the economic situation and say, oh, it's nothing. It is something. It's definitely something. Once the smell has changed, the color has changed from what you got before, you should dispose it off and get new ones. I always say that eating healthy, if you look at it in the long term, is not expensive like eating unhealthy, because you will pay double. You are buying the food at the same time, you are buying disease conditions in the long term for you and your family.
And in no
So,
time, you are going to be paying for dialysis, you
yeah,
are going to be buying BP medicine, you are going to buy diabetes medicine, asthma medication in no time. So,
yeah,
actually, eating healthy, the way you even put it, it is like intrinsically eating healthy is expensive. It's just that it is cheaper than disease. But no, eating healthy need not be expensive. We just need to be very tricky about it, so to speak.
innovative.
When something that comes into season, you take the opportunity and eat that food. Season changes, you go to something else. Some of them can even be stored. Those ones
Yeah,
that are not degraded by with time, and also they can even be stored. And when it comes to fruits, almost all the time there's a particular fruit in season.
yeah,
It's just that your child may not like that fruit. But these are
yeah.
some of the things we can do so that we eat a variety. So thank you so much. Joy says that she's always happy to be here because Pearl explains very well. Okay, I didn't get a lot of tough
Thank you.
questions, but if you just joined us, you put some tough questions there. She'll come back and answer them for you and share on your pages as well. So thank you so much for watching this with us. You can still keep your questions and your comments coming. Visit our blog, visit our YouTube channel, and subscribe as well. And we are ever so thankful to Zinkovit. If you are looking to make your child perform well in school, then Zinkovit is one of the supplements that you should give. Now when your child has diarrhea, WHO says zinc should be added to the treatment, ORS and zinc. In most places, pneumonia, the treatment must include zinc. And we know that zinc helps your child to repair the skin very well and the hair and everything. So we are ever so thankful to Zinkovit for helping us and supporting us with this one. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We've come to the end of another informative session. Next month, there will be another one that we will bring to you. I'm already thinking about the topic in my head, and I can assure you that it's to be a very interesting one. So thank you. And thank you
Yeah.
so much, Phil, for always honoring our invitation and coming to spend your time on us for free. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.